I don't think I've had a good feel for what was going to happen to the far left after Joe Biden became president. There were periods where I and several others were concerned that if they win, if Joe Biden becomes president, he will embolden the far left, defend them, continue to do so. And we had good reason to believe it because Joe Biden's staffers had bailed out many rioters. Kamala Harris herself solicited donations to bail out rioters. And so it seemed like after Joe Biden becomes president, they're going to throw some red meat to the far left. Well, I think that assessment was true. We are seeing more rioting already, and Joe Biden is signing these executive orders. But one thing I didn't really expect, some people did speculate that many of these leftists would be tossed aside, used up, and no longer needed. I didn't expect news organizations to start firing people the way they are. This is the karmic justice for the insane left. Perhaps what we're really seeing is that the establishment hates the fringe lefty culture warriors as much as they hate the right-wing culture warriors. Now, let me slow down. I said fringe left-wing culture warriors and right-wing culture warriors. What I mean by that is there's still very much an obvious bias. If you're fringe right, you're gone in 2 seconds. If you're left-wing culture warrior, you're fine. And if you're right-wing culture warrior, you're on thin ice. That's my point. But we got some crazy stories. First, we got a dude who tweeted a stupid, look, it was a joke. He was saying that Joe Biden, I guess, should lynch Mike Pence, and it was a really, really dumb one. And he got fired from his job over this. We're also hearing now another New York Times writer was fired, had her contract rescinded for simply saying, Biden landing at Joint Base Andrews now, I have chills. I can't believe they terminated her contract for that. That's crazy. And now we're learning that Twitter is suspending a series of Antifa accounts, more than 71,000 followers, and the New York Post is playing a video of a possum for some reason. But anyway, the main point is, it seems like these news outlets are trying to get everything back into focus. They've been purging channels. Recently, in the past several months, we saw some high-profile lefties on Twitter banned. We've seen some left-wing podcasts getting banned. It seems now they used the left to rally support against Trump. Once they won, they're now getting rid of anyone who deviates from a boring mainline establishment culture. It ain't all bad. I mean, we need some kind of stability, but I'm sorry, I'm in favor of free speech, and I don't like the idea of authoritarian elites dictating what we can or can't talk about. It is kind of a double-edged sword, though, isn't it? We don't want civil war. We don't want people beating each other to death and fighting each other in the streets. And it would have been nice if they did this early on, but you know why they didn't want to do it? They could have banned the left. They needed it to defeat Donald Trump. And that's why I think we're now going to start seeing the left get their purge as well. And oh boy, will it feel good to finally see these Antifa accounts who have been advocating for violence, calling for violence, outright tweeting illegal things, incitement, getting finally banned. But I'll tell you what's not going to be okay. When left-wing political commentators with opinions I tend not to agree with, and left-wing political commentators who I think are good people, when they all start getting banned, that's going to be bad. And that's the problem. It's their own fault. It's your fault to the left. Lefties, listen. When you get banned, it's your fault. Some prominent two actually prominent left-wing podcasts have been banned already. Outright just gone. I don't know what they did or what they said, but it's no surprise you've got free speech advocates coming out and defending them. I don't know what they said. I'll defend their right to their free speech. And the challenge is a lot of these Antifa accounts, they break the law. They incite violence. They call people to action to do things. That's illegal. I don't think these podcasts did. And from what I've seen, people are saying they did not ever cross the line. I think they're getting banned because this far left stuff is bad. I think people like AOC are a threat to the establishment, and they are coming for her next. They got rid of Trump. Now they need to get rid of Ocasio-Cortez and the squad. These people who are demagogues on Twitter, who are riling everybody up and leading us down a dangerous path. It must stop. Let me read you these stories and break down what's going on. But before I do, my friends, head over to timcastirl.com to become a member and help support my work. We've got some big changes coming. I might actually reorganize my channels. We're going to put a heavy focus on the Timcast IRL podcast. And considering I'm talking about the purging and the mass censorship, really trying to build up a core user base that will insulate us and protect us from censorship. We are very, very close to having enough members to where we don't need to worry about YouTube and what the YouTube's rules are, because we can do things like this. Okay, here, I might get in trouble. First of all, we have a member post up where me and Ian are yelling at each other over whether or not Donald Trump is truly corrupt. And Trump's not the president anymore, but I think it's still interesting. It's a post-mortem conversation about what Trump did, who he hired. And we got Luke Rudkowski, who's kind of agreeing with Ian. Donald Trump is corrupt. And we got Jack Murphy, who's kind of agreeing with me. Nobody thinks the guy's perfect, but it's a really interesting conversation. And you will only get it if you're a member. But recently we covered a very serious story. Twitter refused to remove videos of abuse because it didn't break their rules. It didn't. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Now, I got to be very careful about posts like that on YouTube. When I call out the establishment machine for protecting this insidious and disgusting content, they'll threaten to remove me. And I run the risk of getting banned this video for simply bringing it up. But if you want to hear a real conversation where we talk about certain islands and certain activities from elites, become a member, because we're not going to hold back when we do content on timcast.com. Rest assured, you're not going to get the hyper-partisan stuff you probably think you'll get, to be honest, but we're going to be honest about these stories and try and break them down to the best of our abilities. So look, while we're talking about censorship, forgive me for going on too long, but please consider becoming a member, because we are going to be having a lot of fun ramping things up. I just had a Makarov 9mm, I believe it's Bulgarian, a gun being sent out. So we're going to make videos on a bunch of stuff, vlog, music, gun stuff, and comedy. All that good stuff is coming on the website. Let's read the news from Fox. New York Times contributor loses think tank job over tweet suggesting Biden should lynch Mike Pence. Will Wilkinson said the tweet was an error of judgment meant to convey sharp sarcasm. I believe him. I believe it was tactless. I don't think the guy should have been fired. They say a contributing opinion writer for the New York Times was fired after he tweeted this. Now former Niskanen Center Vice President for Research Will Wilkinson raised eyebrows Wednesday when he offered some tongue-in-cheek advice for President Biden. Vice, mixing up Pence and Vice and Biden. Quote, last night I made an error of judgment and tweeted this. It was sharp sarcasm, but looked like a call for violence. That's always wrong, even as a joke. It was especially wrong at a moment when unity and peace are so critical. I'm deeply sorry and vow not to repeat this mistake. Wilkinson has since locked his account from public viewing. I am hereby demanding he get his job back. 100%. The dude apologized. Please encourage this behavior. Tell people like, Will, you made a bad joke. I get it. You apologized. I accept your apology, good sir. Please continue doing your job, recognizing where your fault was. If we don't allow people to apologize, they won't stop. If you really want peace, reconciliation, and unity, let people admit to being wrong, please. Don't take his job, man. Well, there you go. The apology was not good enough for the Niskanen Center, which said in a statement that it appreciates and encourages interesting and provocative online discourse. They say as an organization, the Niskanen Center appreciates and encourages discourse. However, we draw the line at statements that are or can in any way be interpreted as condoning or promoting violence. As such, the Niskanen Center has, with a heavy heart, parted ways with Will Wilkinson. We thank him for his valuable contributions to the organization and wish him success in his future endeavors. I will never be in favor of someone apologizing and getting canned anyway. We all know the story of Joey Salads. If you're not familiar, he made some really awful YouTube videos. And when he apologized, at first, I wasn't having it, but I realized, hey, wait a minute, man, this guy's trying to not be the bad guy anymore. I have to accept that. Now I talk to Joey every so often, and he's really turned around. He makes silly videos now where he pulls pranks on his girlfriends. That's exactly what we need. When someone says something dumb, because we've built for years a culture over hating each other, and they realize it's wrong and they apologize, protect that. So, Will, dude, I think you deserve your job back. This is disgusting stuff. It is pathetic and spineless of the Niskanen Center to fire this guy. I clearly don't like what he said about Mike Pence. I think it's horrible. And he came out and apologized, and I have tremendous respect for him doing so. And we need to tell people it's okay to be wrong and to apologize. Now, I'll tell you where things are getting real spicy. Look at this. New York Times cancels editor's contract after she tweeted she had chills watching Biden land at Joint Base Andrews. Why? Why? I don't care. What does it even mean that she has chills? Was she scared of Biden? Was she happy about Biden? I think we get it. She likes Joe Biden. All of a sudden now the New York Times is concerned about appearing impartial. This is ridiculous. Give this woman her job back. It's just, it's all too far. I don't like cancel culture. I don't care who it's affecting. And this tweet, so what? Look, I know there are problems in journalism. I know there are journalists that are activists, so I get it. But this is a bit over the top, isn't it? Well, maybe what's really happening now is that companies like the New York Times are trying to pull things back. Maybe it's too late. We've long talked about how these news organizations are infected with the critical race cult, and they're gaining more and more ground. But maybe the real play was to allow it as a weapon to stop Donald Trump. I mean, there are a lot of people, I think, Candace Owens brings it up, that the issue of racism pops up just every couple of years right before an election. And then when there's no election, it kind of just disappears and they don't talk about it anymore. Maybe that's what we're seeing now. The whole thing about, Antifa getting a free pass and the AGs defending them was because they needed every single person on the left unified against Trump, and it was all they had. They could not have the infighting. It's interesting how for a while Republicans were unified. I showed the graph over and over again where they were unified around central ideas. Now they're torn apart. Talks of a third party even. Mitch McConnell and the Republicans have failed the base. So that's an entirely different issue, to be completely honest. But here's the story. They say, well, you understand. Let me just read. The New York Times reportedly canceled an editor's contract after she tweeted she had chills watching Joe Biden land at Joint Base Andrews. Lauren Wolf tweeted on Tuesday, we heard this, the pettiness of the Trump admin not sending a military plane to bring him to D.C. as his tradition is mortifying. Childish, she wrote. HuffPost contributor Yashar Ali tweeted later that he'd been told by two sources Wolf had her contract ended over it. Wolf was a senior editor at the Times and edited stories that appeared on its live page. After posting her first tweet, she was roasted by fellow journalists. Wolf hit back angrily, saying she was merely excited and interested in historical moments like the transition of power. I respect that. I agree and respect. Yeah. What does it even mean that she's saying she has chills? Sure, I get it. There are a lot of comments that were over the top. But I am a fan of moments of history as well. I've been to so many different places during so many different historical moments, and I've collected pieces of them. I have an box. I lived on the street where that Black Lives Matter dude, or they'll probably take issue with that, assassinated two cops. And I walked out of my building one day, and there it was, just flickering, in the wind, just, this police tape, and it was just a piece of garbage attached to a light post that was ripped apart. And I just grabbed it and I was like, I'm going to keep this. It represents this moment. It's a piece of this history. I got the newspaper from St. Louis. I have a golf ball from the California drought when they were watering golf greens while poor farmers had no water. Their wells ran dry and the city was watering golf courses where just across the street people could not drink. And I found a golf ball on someone's on the ground right in front of someone's house, and I thought, how amazing is that? This golf ball was hit out of the green or whatever, landed on this poor guy's property, and he's got no water, and they got a green, fresh lawn. It's really amazing, these things. So for her to say something like that, I just don't care, man. I really, really don't. I hope this is not where we're going, where they're going to start curtailing the internet, shutting down free speech. And I think that's the direction it's going to head. If you are on the right, this should be scary to you. And that's why it's so important we talk about it. The banning of Antifa. Twitter suspends Antifa accounts with more than 71,000 followers. This should be scary to you. Okay, listen, I don't like Antifa. I think they're lunatics. I think they want to destroy everything. I like the idea of stability. I like the idea of unity. I want to go back to arguing about ideas and fighting for, look, I'm a reformist. I'm not a revolutionary. I have problems with the police. Don't defund them. Change them. I believe we succeed because our Constitution allows for amendment, though it's probably hard to accomplish these days, and we can reform the system. We have a lot of problems in this country. We are losing our rights, the Constitution. We have to be better. I don't like the idea of revolution because I've seen it, and it leads to chaos and suffering. Everything would be worse. But I'll tell you this. The firing of these journalists, or I shouldn't know, these individuals from the New York Times, and I think, one guy was a think tank writer. The firing of the guy from the think tank and from the woman from the New York Times is an escalation of cancel culture that I don't want to see. I think people need to develop discipline. If you want to work at the New York Times, they should just say, don't do this. If you do, they tell you, don't do it again. If you do it again, they say you have one more chance. And then maybe you let them go, I guess. But I still don't like that either. People have opinions. I like knowing what the journalists' opinions are, because then when they write a story, I can tell if they're framing things improperly. When Antifa gets banned, I'd like to know why. Did they incite violence? Did they call for violence? Honestly, I have no idea what they said. Do they just support left-wing politics? They're allowed to, and I will defend their right to do so. I don't know why Twitter took them down, and I will not support censorship. To be fair, I wouldn't be surprised if these Antifa people were actually inciting violence and organizing, and we might not know what they were doing in direct messages. The problem with removing it, though, is now we don't know. And perhaps these statements should be preserved to a certain degree so that we can know. It is a tough problem. If some Antifa person says, hey, go do X, and then you say, we're going to leave this up so that people can see what they said, but then their followers literally just go and do the thing they asked for, well, then you've got the problem. But if they just take it down, am I supposed to trust Twitter that they're being honest in their removal of Antifa accounts? No, I won't. I won't trust them. I think Joe Biden was mad that he looked bad because Antifa went out rioting and smashing up Democrat headquarters, and so they took swift action. Censorship, I will not tolerate. There is a line. If you incite someone to violence, if you tell people to go and commit an act, a real immediate action, like if you said, I want you to go do X. Yes, that is the line. If you tell someone, I'm going to do X, or we should go now do X, that's the line. What this guy tweeted, this Will Wilkinson, he said, Biden, if he wanted to unite the country, he would, then he says lynch Mike Pence, which is ridiculous and insane. And I think that actually doesn't fall into legal. I think he was just on the line of what's illegal and legal, and he was safe in that regard. He apologized. It was distasteful. Fine. I get it. I tell you where we go from here, man. They're going to start going after the left. And there may be a gut reaction from many on the right to say you get what you deserve or you reap what you sow. And by all means, let me tell you this. If you're on the right, sit back, put your feet up, crack open a beer, take a swig, and then give yourself a good hearty laugh. And then say to these people, welcome to the fight. Now you understand. If only you understood sooner. But hey, so long as you're here, we could really use your help bailing water, right? It's like the way I see it is the ship is sinking. Free speech is paramount. And there were some people on the boat laughing and mocking everybody as the boat sank and they desperately tried bailing water. And then the water started to fill up on their side and now they're panicking. Oh no, wait, what about us? And then we say, you know what? We're mad at you, but here's a bucket. Start bailing water now. I suppose in this analogy, you'd have like the boat is sinking, and then one group of people is filling up buckets of water and throwing it onto the boat and laughing about it, thinking everything's fine. And then once they realized all their stuff was destroyed and they started panicking, then we're like, maybe y'all should start bailing water now too. In order for there to be democracy, as they claim Donald Trump was trying to destroy our democracy. Well, we're a constitutional republic with democratically elected representatives, so it's a bit different than that. But I'll tell you what really destroys a system. Ignorance. Straight up ignorance. Think about it this way. Let's say we're all in a bus, and the bus is driving towards a cliff, and half the people are facing the other direction. And so you've got the bus set up where the seats face each other. So the people all facing back can't see that they're about to drive off a cliff. And the people all facing forward can see the cliff, and then they vote. Should we turn right? And the people facing backwards are like, you guys are nuts. There's no problem here. We're not going to vote to turn because we're fine. And you're screaming in their face, no, what are you doing? We're going to go off a cliff together. How do you get people to turn around? Persuasion. You've got to be peaceful, persuasive, and resourceful. And you say, you know what? You're right. These people are all dumb. I mean, just look right there. Nothing's going on. And they go, yeah, you're right. They turn around and go, it's a cliff. And then you change that vote. And then they change their mind. It's not an easy thing to do. And there's going to be a lot of people who will always just laugh because they want the bus to fly off the cliff. They want to go down. They don't want the goodness of this world. They do not feel empathy for you. They want to watch the world burn. Now, I truly believe most people don't feel that way. I think they just don't know. Everybody thinks they're the hero of their own story. So you've got a bus careening towards a cliff. But these people facing the wrong way, they believe the bus is on the fastest route towards peace and harmony. And you can see behind them the cliff. And you're like, dude, we're going down. Now, in the back of this bus, you got people screaming, the end is nigh, we're all going to die, and they're banging their heads. And then there's other people who are like, these dudes are nuts, man. What is this? Then you've got people who are angry, yelling, you're so dumb. You're going to get us. Do you have any idea? That's not going to help either. And then you've got some dude wearing a nice, polo shirt tucked into his jeans, and he's looking back and he goes, those people are crazy. What are they screaming about? And then the person in front of him is like, I know, right? And they say, just look ahead. I mean, look, everything's fine. Well, maybe not. Wait, what's that? Calm, persuasive, and then the person takes a look and then says, whoa, you were right. It's not easy to do. It's not. But shutting people up and putting tape over their mouths is not going to solve the problem. I'll tell you this. It's from Game of Thrones. It was Tyrion Lannister who was written to have said this. When you cut out a man's tongue, you are not... what is it? I'm ruining it here. When you cut out a man's tongue, you're not proving him wrong. You're only proving you're scared of what he might say. Think about what that means. These journalists, this think tank guy, these Antifa people, they're going to say what they say, and they're going to say it in the shadows. So it's not that you think you can stop them. No one's going to think that these people are wrong. In fact, you're going to embolden them. Right now, as many of the Q people believe that the plan is still on. They're saying things like, we've never gotten so much attention before. We must be over target. That's what they think. They imagine it like a plane flying over the target, the true threat, and so now they're firing back to stop them. That's not the case. It doesn't work that way. It's not that you're over target. It's that there is chaos abound, and everyone's talking about it because it is chaotic and crazy. Censoring them was wrong. All it did was embolden them. Let them speak. You know why? When these people are on Twitter saying these things, people can tell them they're wrong. Now they're isolated, and no one can. So as for these journalists, as for these writers, as for Antifa, I want to know what they say. I want to know what they think. Censorship ain't the answer. I guess they're getting their comeuppance, but I will not be supporting censorship. Sorry, that's just not what I'm going to do. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. And I've been thinking I might actually move the 4 p.m. segments onto this channel and then actually start putting the clips from the Timcast IRL podcast on the Timcast channel, because I think that might just work better all around. I'm not entirely sure. It's a big risk because it could backfire and then viewership goes down, and then maybe we just do it. I don't know. Different audiences, right? We'll see how it plays out. The next video will be at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.